Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondent Club of Japan. My name is Pio D'Emilia. I am this club Professional Activities Committee co-chair, and I'm moderating today this important press conference by our guest speaker, Sergei Korsunsky, Ambassador and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Japan. We have already welcomed him a couple of weeks ago, I guess. Yeah, a month ago.
26th of January.
A month has already passed. A month ago, and he was talking about the risk of open conflict, a war, in other words, in Ukraine. And I think he was right, because now we are under such a situation. So we, as a Foreign Correspondent Club, we asked him and the Russian ambassador to both come. And actually, the Russian ambassador will come in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. So we can have a fair and double point of view of the situation. But let's start with our Ukrainian guest. I guess we don't need to introduce him, and we don't need to update you all, since you are all journalists. You know what is going on, even the latest news. For those who didn't follow it this early morning, Kishida, Prime Minister of Japan, had held a press conference early morning and announced the new and very strict sanctions against Russia. So, Mr. Ambassador, the microphone is yours. Please have your introduction, and then we will start with a Q&A from the floor and online. May I ask you, please, to check your phone, to put it on silent or turn it off, please. Thank you very much.
Minasan konnichiwa. Thank you very much for inviting me. Those are very difficult days. We don't sleep, as you may imagine, for 48 hours minimum. But let me first begin with a small presentation. I'll show you, I'll try to explain what's going on. I will show you some exclusive pictures, first ever. I will tell you at this moment, and if you want, you can then use those pictures. We leave here the file with all of them for your reportages. When you deal with diplomats, normally you expect that they're very, sober people, but it is very difficult to be impartial those days. That is why we begin from, I will show you this very small movie. It's live communications between Russian Navy and our Marines and bodyguards on a very small island. It's like Senkaku, very small one in the Black Sea, where we have had a post. That's a picture. The name of this island, Zmiyny, Snake Island, in translation into English. So that's communication now became a symbol of resistance. Please push the button.
Все. Или нахуй тоже.
На всякий случай.
Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
I will translate it to you. Russian Navy says that you have to lay down your weapons, you have to give up, otherwise you will be destroyed. They repeated this 2 times. The answer was, go fuck yourself. Those people were killed in a brutal attack. In our tradition, we remember those who were killed with a sign of silence. I would like you to ask you to rise and to remember those people. It's amazing. Please do it. They deserved it because they lost their lives for you too. You can imagine 25 people with just so simple weapons against 2 military ships of Russia. They all killed.
Did they bomb or?
Of course, they erased all of these structures on the island and they killed everybody.
And this was when?
Yesterday,
Yes.
this night. This island is like 2,000 kilometers from Donbass. When you'll be listening to Galuzin today, he will, in nice, good Japanese language probably, will tell you that we are not assaulting Ukraine. It is not a war. We're just doing business about Donbass. So let's move forward and I will show you what they're doing in Donbass. This is territory of Ukraine. Those are, what? Next one, yes. This is not all like targets on territory of Ukraine. This is just part of them. This is first targets which were assaulted with cruise missiles. And that was like in 5 a.m. in the morning. People were woke up with the sound of coming missiles. They bombed first all military installations, airports, all military units. They have had in their as their targets. Later on, they began to bomb civil installments. But that is important map because the next one will show you where is Donbass actually. That is Donbass. You see dark side, that is, which is now, it was before 21st of February, it was occupied territory. And you see the whole administrative part, two administrative regions of Ukraine we call Donbass together, that's Donetsk and Lugansk regions. And that is another OSCE map showing the separation line where they, prior to invasion, prior to 31st of February, they were targeting civil installments and our forces on this border purposefully to create casus belli. When they realized that we are not responding, there is none, they began a very big attack, information attack, disinformation attack, resulted in this chain of events. As we understand now, it was well prepared long ago, minimum for 3 months. They were carefully crafting what is going on today. So imagine those 3 months, enormous diplomatic activities, summits, discussions, visits, President Macron, Chancellor of Germany, so many dignitaries in Moscow trying to talk to Putin and try to find a solution. At that time, Putin already had all this on his table. He was already prepared for an attack. A draft of documents were prepared, so everything was ready. So he was making fool about those dignitaries. So that's, they call Donbass, but I show you the map, another map that targets are on the whole territory of Ukraine. So that is where invasion began, from those I don't know how, base places, from 3 sides, including Belarus. So it was the minimum problem we have had in Donbass, because that was the strongest line of defense against Russian forces. They knew it. That is why they began to attack us from all other sides, because the defense there was a little bit weaker. For example, on this separation line, there are minefields to prevent unexpected attacks. And those minefields set by both sides. On other part of Ukraine, of course, we do not have minefields. So you can attack at your will. So that's where they began. I would like to draw your attention specifically and purposefully. Months ago, I told you all about the danger of nuclear infrastructure in our territory. And now the worst we expected happened. They seized Chernobyl nuclear power plant. We don't have control of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. All guards and all personnel is arrested and kept as hostages. I will show you pictures about that. Let's go forward. So that's how it began. That is Chernobyl. You see the map. Where is Chernobyl? You see it's very close to Belarus and Russia. It's like actually there is a small city where people who are working on Chernobyl nuclear power plant lives. The train which carries them to work and home goes through Belarusian territory because that's geography. So it's so close. So they can do it easily without any problems, and they did it. On the left down corner, that's picture of 1986. That's a picture that's real from data developed after so many years after Chernobyl. So you see what happened when Chernobyl happened. What kind of contamination covered Europe? It was not just for Ukraine. It was not just for Russia and Belarus. First, Chernobyl reported from Sweden. It was reported that far as Scotland. So now the world, that's literally the world, because this Chernobyl problem, it's immense. Soviet Union did almost nothing to cope with the consequences. When we became independent, Russia said, good luck, Ukraine. We are no more responsible for this Chernobyl issue, and you can do now on your own. In those 30 years, EBRD, special account, special fund was created, assembly of donors at the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development to cover problems related to Chernobyl. Tens of billions of dollars, that was price tag on this. The latest one, construction, which covers reactor number 4, $1.8 billion. Belgium-French consortium constructed this arc. I was personal representative of the Ukrainian government on the final stage of negotiations between the project management and this consortium. So I know every small detail about the project. This is immensely difficult, technologically savvy construction, because you have to construct it over a reactor which has enormous radioactive level. It has 1,000 times higher than Fukushima. And you have to construct it, and it must be operational, and some equipment must be operational inside, because what you have inside, immense mass of melted, highly enriched uranium with concrete and metal. This mass, nobody knows what is going on inside. We have spent 30 years and tens of billions of dollars to put special equipment, special monitoring system inside this concrete. It's massive, it's huge, to monitor because it's hot. Which, when you touch it, it is hot. So the reaction is inside, and nobody knows what will happen. The purpose of the project was to cut it into pieces to avoid chain reaction and nuclear explosion. And we were just at the beginning of doing this. And now you have special operation forces. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, this is not. It will be later. Special operation forces of Russian Federation seized this Chernobyl nuclear power plant. They have absolutely no idea how to monitor it and how to manage it. That could be disaster of epic scale. That's I warn you, and I want you to report this. As we told you many times, they must be stopped now. It's not tomorrow, not in 3 months, not in a week. Tomorrow, now, because every hour that may happen. When it is our responsibility, we are responsible. But now we cannot control this. So please, next slide. That is pictures. Again, probably Ambassador of Russia will tell you about Donbass again. Those pictures are from, you see, Radio Liberty, and another one, this is Kyiv. Many of you have been to Kyiv. They saw this church on the water, very famous, and you see smoke. I drive along this road every day when I'm in Kyiv. It's just between my work and my home. So I know where they hit with the missile. This is Kyiv. This is Podil. This is center of Kyiv. Other part of pictures, you see ballistic, you see cruise missile, and this is what left from this cruise missile, which arrived again right in the center of Kyiv. We do have, you know, police stations in Kyiv. We do have National Guard stations in Kyiv. Yes, this is normal. So they attack all this. Doesn't matter that those are just modern small buildings around, encircled with residential areas, and they hit them with cruise missiles, caliber. So that is Russian face. That is Donbass. That is how they care about people in Ukraine as this creature, I can't call him president of Russia, say towards Ukrainian people. Next slide, please. That is prisoner of war. We began taking Russians as prisoners. So this one, you see an officer. We have dozens of them. I'll show you another picture. That is one of them. And then he's questioned by our military. He said, we didn't kill you. I mean, we were not told that we are going to kill you. We were just for reconnaissance mission. You know what? And you see the CNN correspondent, Christian Amanpour, your colleague, reported, this is live. He's looking at Russian soldier in outskirts of Kyiv. It's not center of Kyiv, but in some areas around Kyiv, 30 kilometers around, there is an airport, Hostomel. You know probably Antonov trademark, airplanes. You know Mriya. That's where Mriya lives. Home of Mriya, that's Antonov plant and Hostomel airport, which is very close to Kyiv. That's this night, there was 42 helicopters, 200 Russian troops trying to seize this airport. For what? For 100 airplanes coming from Russia with paramilitary troops, which has a goal to destroy Kyiv infrastructure, to become seizing, you know, communication systems, governmental buildings, to change the government. Their purpose to seat the house, to change the government. It was fierce fight. All those were destroyed, Russians. Several helicopters were destroyed, and this airport was destroyed completely. So there is no more airport. I don't know where is Mriya. I just pray that Mriya is not in Kyiv, because this is unique plane which the world needs. There is nothing similar to this piece of art. So that's reality. So that's what we have now. And we have, like, if you want to go to Donbass, you have to use a train for 7 hours. So that's where they look for solution for Donbass. Next picture, please. This is, you must have in front of your eyes when you will be talking to Russians. This is the face of a very, very civil woman, very simple woman in a small village. which was attacked by cruise missiles. And again, I purposefully put this to show you from the sources of that. This is an Anadolu agency. So it's not my Photoshop. I am not making those pictures for you. I just make copies of what world agencies reports from the ground, from different places in Ukraine. Amazingly, we have very good journalists working on the line of war, and they report it every day. So that's, you can just see. Next picture, please. That's another one. That's another residential area. It's another attack in Ivano-Frankivsk. Ivano-Frankivsk, this is the city where I visited in December this year, last year. We have had an ambassadorial conference there. It's western part of Ukraine, Carpathian Mountains, very close to Romania. It's like probably 2,000, 3,000 kilometers from Donbass, but there is an airport there, military airport. So we have video. I did not include it, but that's a result. We have video when cruise missile coming over the sky and hit this airport. But this is Russian missile. And when it comes to Russian missile, you never know where it goes. So those cruise missiles, they hit residential areas, and we do have casualties. Please, next slide. You know this person. That's how we have to call him from now on. And next slide. Oh, but we missed something. No, it's not correct. There must be pictures. Please return back. There must be pictures from Chernobyl station. Back. Strange. Possible.
I think you made your
Sorry.
point.
No, but that's important. They must be there. Okay. Nevertheless, why it is important to show you those pictures? I will check now why they're not there. You see military units and vehicles without insignia. Exactly Crimean scenario. So military vehicle without plates with Z on it. That's the same Z they put on tanks. Military units in military uniform with red tape. And again, I have pictures there. I don't know where they disappeared. It's very strange. When we caught, but on my Twitter you can find those pictures easily. We caught two military young Russians. They have under their cover they have insignia of Russia, but then they have like a jacket and they have red tape around it. So this red tape, that's how they designate their forces. So again, imagine that they even if you assume they have had ever any face, now they completely lost it, because they always were saying it was not us in Crimea. It was, we don't know. It was not us in Donetsk and Lugansk. We don't know. But now, officially announced war. There is a statement of war, but still Russian troops moving to Ukrainian territory without insignia. About casualties. This is very important to understand, because we are very grateful to our partners. We extremely grateful for, first of all, United States and Great Britain who provided us with anti-tank equipment, javelins and NLAX. We destroyed, I can't calculate, but probably 2 dozens already of Russian tanks. We shot down minimum, exactly, I know for sure, 7 their warplanes, a dozen of helicopters. We have killed hundreds of those people. Unfortunately, we do have casualties too, among civilians and among military. One of the most terrible, that was a station, radar station, close to Odessa on the south. The personnel of this station were 18 people, 8 men and 10 women, because it's like communication site. All of them were killed. 8 men and 10 women. They were killed with missile attack. That is why we continue to request to ask our partners to provide us with additional anti-missile equipment. We do have some, and we operated, as I told you, we already shot down 7 airplanes. This is not small, taking into account that Russian planes are good. But we still need Stingers. We still need additional assistance, because that's where they have superiority. Cruise missiles. This is amazing. I mean, you use cruise missiles in peaceful times, 21st century, around peaceful country, without any provocations, and of course, you never can control. What we expect, that's why I will stop on that. We expect a next wave of attack. They now kind of regrouping themselves. We expect attack on Kyiv with terrorist units, units specifically purpose of which to seed terror. There are rumors, I can't confirm, but there are rumors that Wagner Group among them and other death squads from Russian traditions. That's why we have now curfew installed in Kyiv. That is why now police and National Guard monitors every street, every part of the city. And it's not just about Kyiv and Kharkiv, Zhytomyr, Dnipro, and all major cities actually in central part of Ukraine. We are ready. We will fight back at every. Some cities were caught, like Gidichinsk in the south, close to Crimea. The goal of Russia, what we understand now, not just to take over Donbass and Lugansk, but to take all the territory of Ukraine, which has Azov Sea, then south to cut us from the Black Sea and to have connections to Transnistria. So that was worst case scenario. Until 21st of February, we all were hoping we have light scenario. Probably they will make some activities in Donbass and Lugansk. What now we understand, they went into maximum scenario, the biggest one, using massive forces. We estimate that from 90 battalion tactic groups of Russia on our borders, 60 already inside Ukraine. So they still have some reserves. Again, there is no panic. People are very resolved. There is some exodus. I mean, people specifically from Donetsk and Lugansk, from those heavily attacked areas, civilians, they are trying to leave now to western part of Ukraine. So we have already unfolding refugee crisis. But it's too early to say. What we're now going to do, we're going to fight back. There is no even smallest idea about surrendering. They have now already moving this tune in their propaganda that Ukrainian soldiers gave up, they laid down weapons, and they don't want to fight. This is complete nonsense. Let me refute this categorically. This is absolutely complete nonsense. Our soldiers are fighting, they're dying, and that is enormously terrible burden for us. We ask all our partners to stop this, to impose as harsh sanctions as possible, to prevent a catastrophe of scale unseen since Second World War. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much. Let's start with the questions. I have a fundamental question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you expect from United States and European allies? A military intervention?
At this point, we expect supply of additional ammunition for air defense. we already very well equipped to protect us against tanks, and it works. We have very good equipment supplied by Turkey, Bayraktar unmanned vehicles, UAV, and they are very effective. We already used it. I saw pictures how they were used. It's amazing. But we have no protection against cruise missiles. So that's what we expect. That's number one. Number two, we expect right now, not deliberating again, not deliberations, not in a week, not in a month, but right now to establish as harsh sanctions as possible. We must remove this villain from Kremlin. This is absolutely unacceptable that one person created such a crisis for no reason. He must be stopped. We are not fighting against Russian nation. We are fighting against regime which is anti-human. That's the subject. So that is why we expect. We know already. I talked yesterday to 28 ambassadors of the European Union and in the EU ambassador herself. And I understand that the EU is very well prepared. They already announced some sanctions, and the United States too. Very harsh sanctions from the Great Britain. That's very, very important. But we want them to go even further.
Thank you. Okay, let's start, Greg.
My name is Gregory Clark, freelance. I have visited your country several times, and I have great sympathy for what is happening. However, Mr. Putin accused you of being Nazification as an excuse for the war. There is a UN resolution concerning glorification of Nazism, neo-Nazism, and other practices that contribute to the fueling contemporary forms of racism, racial discrimination, etc., etc. The voting on this was 130 in favor, 51 abstentions, and 2 opposed. Of that 2, Ukraine was 1. How can we explain that vote?
I cannot give you details about this resolution. We have, in the center of Ukraine, we have a place called Babi Yar. This Babi Yar is a graveyard of more than 100,000 people, Jews, Russians, Ukrainians, many nations. Even there are, not my relatives, but there are 6 people with my family name. I have no idea who they were, but my family name. They were done by 1942 by Nazis. We lost 8 million people in the Second World War. To accuse Ukraine for Nazism, this is, from my point of view, the crime itself. We do have right movements, as anywhere else. Those right movements, there are several organizations with specific vision of policy. They together got 1% on 2 recent elections. And we have a saying that the theft screams louder than anybody else. There are pictures, and you probably know them better than me, of 1939, 40, 41, when Soviet army and Nazis has held parades, shaking hands, I can share with you, if you don't have it, Pravda, Gazeta Pravda, Pravda newspaper picture. Hitler sent his greetings to Stalin and accused assassination. This is completely ridiculous. We have nothing to do with that. We have very vibrant Jewish community. We have open society. And if we have some people who keep their vision as right movements, has nothing to do with Nazism. Mr. Putin constantly pushes that. That's because it's his own country. There are dozens of real Nazi organizations, people of black collar, people from Central Asia are being killed routine and on routine basis in underground Moscow, on streets of Moscow. And that is all very well reported and known. In Ukraine, I would invite you when it will be we will be back to peaceful times, on Vyshyvanka Day, to Kyiv, and you will see black, Arabs, people of all races, of all nations, freely going in Vyshyvanka, in the center of Kyiv, and nobody ever prosecute them for their race, religion, sex, or whatever. I'm very proud that my country is very open. It's so open, it's unbelievable. We open to all religions, to all races, and it is unimaginable in our taking into account our history. We have more than 100 nationals living just in Odessa. So that would be my answer to you. Probably this resolution, I have to read it. I honestly saying, I don't remember the text of this resolution, but probably something is inside which was unacceptable for us. So it is a kind of separate issue, which I would be happy to answer to you later on if it's still a point of interest.
Ambassador, talking about Odessa, in 2014, there were some very bad
Fire.
approach. Yes.
Yeah, 50 people died, yes.
And those are, if I well remember, Russians.
No, they were not Russians.
No?
No.
Most of them?
That was so look, in 2014, in many cities of Ukraine, Kharkiv included, Dnipro included, Odessa included. You remember Novorossiya idea. So that was all part of eastern part of Ukraine, Project Novorossiya, created by Surkov and people like around him. And that was an idea that if pro-Russian people in those cities will make a kind of uprising, a kind of demonstrations, they will seize local government buildings and police stations. They will be armed then, and they will make like revolution. They succeeded in Donetsk and Lugansk. That is why Donetsk and Lugansk were occupied later. But they were completely subdued in Kharkiv, in Dnipro, and in Odessa. And in Odessa, it was an attempt to put these pro-Russian forces into power. It was a heavy fight between pro-Ukrainian youth and pro-Russian people that resulted in a huge tragedy, which is tragedy for all Odessa. And you will see people remembering it because it's, if you know spirit of Odessa, it's very light, it's humorous, they're people very hospitable. And for them, that was terrible tragedy, but has nothing to do with whether they were Russians or not Russians. That was an attempt to overthrow the government, local government in Odessa, and it was a heavy fight, resulted in casualties. But we blame, of course, those pro-Russian forces. It's 100% their fault.
Thank you. Who's next? Jimbo-san.
Hi, I'm Terry Jimbo with the videonews.com, and I co-chair this committee with PO as well. During the war, it's hard to determine, which information to believe. So if we can confirm this one, there was a report that there was a large-scale cyber attack or so-called electronic countermeasures against the Ukraine networks. Can you tell us first of all if that's what happened, if actually took place, and how large scale it is, how much effect that the Ukrainian network is now getting, and also the potential effect to the power grid of Ukraine, as well as outside of Ukraine that the Ukraine power grid is connected to. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely, I can fully confirm that right before the attack, right before the military actions, there was a huge, immense, it was not huge, it was immense cyber attack on Ukraine. They attacked all governmental institutions, specifically military installments and intelligence. They attacked banks and some online services we have. For a while they were not operational, but later on full service was restored and operational now. That is why you are able, but if you want, for example, the update, what is going on, you would go not to websites of Ministry of Defense or General Staff, but Facebook pages. That's what I urge you. If you read, as far as I understand, they normally put it in Ukrainian and English, the update of what is going on, but Facebook pages. Why Facebook? Because websites were harmed, and we have no time to deal with that. It is clear. Again, it's not the first time. It is normal for Russian tactics. Before they attack, first you destroy your communication system, then you attack with missiles, artillery, airstrikes, then you move ground forces. So that all those components were in place. Right now, some of governmental online services are very restricted because there are a lot of sensitive data. I will explain it to you. You don't have this in Japan, sorry. In Ukraine, we are very open. You have on your phone, you are able to log in to a special service, DIA, and this DIA has connections to zillion of databases. About all, you can find about all yourself. You can find information about, for example, property, to get some info you need to present somewhere else, etc., etc. We have intelligence, and it is announced. Why I'm saying this? It is announced by chief of MI6, British intelligence, on Twitter, that there is an intelligence that there are lists of governmental officials created by Russia, which will be eliminated once they take over Kyiv. Family. And we have reports that already some of them were receiving emails saying, you have to work for Russia, otherwise we know your family, we know where you live, we know where you go, and you will be prosecuted. If you would not agree, we will simply kill you. So we begin to receive those reports. Again, that's what I'm saying, that's what I saw in posted by responsible people. That means that our services, which can be accessed, they can be hacked. They were severely cut to protect people from, because it could be a mistake, it could be whatever. So we cannot have this luxury to provide the enemy with updated information about our government officials, military officers, etc., etc. I sincerely hope this is not true, but MI6 said so, and we must take this seriously into account. Power grid. Yeah, we did two things. First, we disconnected diplomatically from Russia, so we cease our diplomatic relations with Russia. This is number one. And number two, we cut our electrical connections to Russia, because always the electrical grid of Ukraine was connected to Belarus and Russia. That was for technical purposes, not because we need them, but because that's how electricity system works. We signed an agreement with the European Union to connect to European grids. And those days, we disconnected from Russia and we tried to maintain our electrical grid operational, being connected to European system. It is hard because part of our half of our electricity is generated by nuclear power plants. So if they are stopped or they are attacked, it could be consequences. But we try to do whatever possible. Our emergency services, they're working very hard to maintain system operational.
Thank you. Karim?
Thank you for coming today. My name is Karine Nishimura, working for French media, Libération and Radio France. I have a question. President Macron made a phone call just yesterday after the attack to Putin. What is your reaction? Do you think it's still time to talk with Putin?
I'm not in a position to advise President Macron. He is president of a great country. And I don't have details yet. I saw the fact that he called Putin. I do sincerely hope that President Macron understands very well what is going on. We share all details of what is happening with European partners, with European, first of all. That is, if anything happens in Ukraine, that will be their problem. So I do hope that he urged Putin to stop this madness. I don't know whether there is any chance. President Macron did this several times during this Minsk process, right before the invasion. Definitely, we always support. You probably know that even right before the invasion, President Zelensky made another statement that he called Putin. I mean, so we sent message. He wanted to talk to him. And he was rejected. So that is why, again, I remember when there were years after the 2014 that our Western partners were saying, you, Ukraine, is not doing enough on your side. So now, for those last 2 years, we have been done a lot to reach out, to try to talk to them, to have multilateral, bilateral, whatever talks, to explain our position. We always were rejected because they have no interest from our point of view. We should not exist. They completely disrespect us. Ukraine is artificially created by Lenin. You know that, right? Like 1500 years ago. So we should not exist. That's the point. He hates us. So therefore, any other attempt from a dignitary of this scale, President Macron or Chancellor of Germany or Prime Minister of Britain, any attempt to talk to him and try to reason him, very valuable. But I'm not sure it will work, unfortunately.
What about China?
This is $1 billion question. Sincerely, personally, I believe China is not interested in war. And you know the statement of Wang Yi, Minister of Foreign Affairs, in the Munich conference, who said they're against military actions and they support sovereignty of Ukraine. They did not accept annexation of Crimea, although they are very big friends with Russia. This is obvious. As far as I know, right now China keep like silence on the situation. I do. If I were in a position, I'm not authorized to do that. But if I'm in a position, I would urge China to express explicitly its its position toward stop violence, stop war, come back to remove all the forces and try to work to resolve all your problems in a peaceful way. I do think that image of China as a country of great dignity and this is huge civilization. It's very important for them to keep this stance in Asia and in the world. That is why I do expect that China will be expressing itself. It is very important what China thinks, extremely important.
Thank you. Andy, and after Rocky, and then.
Hi, I'm Andy Sharp from Nikkei Asia. Two very short questions. First question, what does the Ukrainian government want from NATO exactly? What will really
Membership.
help? Pardon?
Membership.
Okay, well, please explain that. And also, you mentioned China yesterday. So you mentioned China just now. China yesterday, the foreign ministry spokesman said, denied it was an invasion. This kind of language surely does not help the Ukrainian situation. Can you expand on your thoughts, please?
But again, with NATO, you know, it is very simple and clear. What we understand now, and the more we have war coming, the more we understand. If we are part of NATO, there would be no war. It is axiom. This is very simple. That is why we were, I mean, if you, I don't want to waste your time remembering your history, but first attempt to claim Crimea was done in 2003. Tuzla problem. Many of you may remember, they began to construct a dam toward the Tuzla island and then actually to cut Azov Sea. But that was the path toward Crimea. And they were always claiming, with Putin in power, it was not with Yeltsin, but with Putin, it was always that they were saying something on Crimea. But we just thought it is impossible because we have agreements ratified by both parliaments. We have a zillion times confirmed by Russia about the guarantees to territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. And then 2003, it was a crisis, which was prevented by, at that time, it was President Kuchma, but that was Evgen Marchuk, the prime minister, and if I'm not mistaken, at that time, they prevented the crisis. But that was first sign of what is going on. Then it was 5 years before summit in Romania, 2008. So it has nothing to do with NATO. As you know, better than me, NATO is a defense alliance. As you know, they were protesting against what? Radar in Romania? Radar? Seriously? So you install Iskanders in Kaliningrad, and you question radar in Romania. But that's kind of Russian logic. That is why we're not talking about our right, sovereign right, to choose which alliance to join. We have choice from Putin point of view. ODKB, so New Warsaw Pact, Bishkek Agreement, actually, they call it, or NATO. If, just a question, if we, just imagine for a microsecond, we will apply for membership in Bishkek Agreement, would they be against it? So that's normal, that's okay. That's because Russia would say, good guy, good boy, okay, come, we will embrace you. That is good. So they can create alliances, we cannot, yes? So there is no logic. There is no brain, there is no logic. We want to choose, and we have chosen. And from NATO now, we want membership. We understand all the details, trust me, better than anybody else. We understand all the technical problems, all the military reform needed. We all know this very well. But we believe that there is no country in the world which can protect itself by itself. Ukraine is not an exclusion. As you know, Switzerland is a special case, but other countries, they must have some kind of affiliation. They have like special arrangements which are not part of NATO. But still, with this invasion, you know, even Finland and Norway began to talk about this. So we we don't we stay on this path. We want to be part of NATO.
And what would you like NATO to do right now?
Yes, that's the question.
But how it may look funny question, but actually we cannot ask NATO about anything. We can ask NATO to help us, but we understand we are not part of this Article 5. We cannot request military forces, military protection. NATO, as far as I understand this night, Stoltenberg said NATO initiated some plan for to support eastern flank of NATO. So I understand additional troops and additional equipment will be moved to Baltic states, to Poland, to all our neighbors. That's good. We more rely on bilateral support, as is already provided by, first of all, United States and Great Britain and other countries with military equipment. As I said, what we need right now, we need anti-missile defense. So whatever small equipment would be quickly moved to Ukraine, it is not to attack anybody, but to protect our civil population, because we expect more attack. Yesterday, 4 ballistic missiles were shot from Belarus to Ukraine. Ballistic missiles. So it is not a joke anymore. It is not funny. We need this equipment. And NATO as an institution is very supportive. We have constant communications with NATO, intelligence exchange. This is clearly, probably that Ukraine have been for many years the biggest partner of NATO. I mean, we participate in every program available for non-member states, although we're not granted very funny status. So we want to continue this. Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, we are running out of time. Can you stay 10 minutes more?
Yes.
Okay. So, Rocky.
Rocky Swift with Reuters. I found your description of the Chernobyl situation quite chilling. If that facility is not properly managed, maintained, or if it's damaged, what could be the ramifications for Western Europe? Thank you.
Radioactive contamination. Radioactive contamination. Look, you have reactor number 4. This is it was construction which has a core with nuclear fuel of highly enriched uranium. And there was a cap on this reactor. This cap was blown during the explosion, and what was inside was going outside in air, in very top level of atmosphere. Then you have wind. And the question was where wind is going. Can we show this map, red map of Chernobyl? Wind was blowing to north. That is why we still have contaminated part of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. And on those territories, we still have contaminated land, still uninhabited, still unused for agriculture, because you can find hot particles, we call that, actually small parts of, actually very small parts of highly enriched uranium. So that is the problem. We don't know what may happen. Now, idea was we have to cover it, because if you begin to disassemble this mass inside the reactor number 4, you will have dust, radioactive dust going to air. That is why ARC was designed to completely cover this reactor. So look at this picture. You see this Chernobyl, and you see where is in Russia contaminated spot. That's because wind was blowing to this direction. If wind at that time would be to south, Kyiv would not be exist at that time. I spent every day of Chernobyl in Kyiv. City was empty. We evacuated all women, all children, and some men. So we were, I was young. I was not in a position to leave my job. So we stayed in Kyiv. So I remember empty city of 3 million people. That's because wind was blowing to the north. If wind would be blowing to different direction, that will be huge consequences. But in smaller scale, you see this left down picture. In smaller scale, contamination reached as far as Turkey, as Western Europe. And it was registered in Scotland, in Sweden, first. So that is, we don't know what may happen if they destroy this ark. We have no idea, because you have to manage it very carefully. People, they have very skilled personnel, specially trained to work on this station. We have been doing this for 30 years. Nobody else knows how to operate it. And for some reason, for unknown reason for us, you have military unit seizing this station, and we don't know what they're doing there. Probably you may expect they will mount some accusations towards us, again, which is completely nonsense, because we have international personnel, international monitoring system installed by International Atomic Agency. I mean, this is very clear. It's international project, carefully monitored by the whole world. And by the way, we have here in Fukushima, we have a person who knows every micrometer of this Chernobyl zone, Professor Mark Zhelezniak. He is working now at Fukushima University as professor, helping Japan to cope with Fukushima. Anybody wants to talk to him, he speaks English perfectly. He will explain you all zillion details about this. I talked to him about that, and he said it could be, we are not saying it will be, it could be, if it is mismanagement. We lost connection to the people on the station at 8:30 p.m. Kyiv time.
Peter?
It's Peter Langen of the South China Morning Post. Excuse me. I'd like to bring the question back to China again.
Yes.
We saw President Putin in China earlier this month signing an enormous number of new deals with China, particularly for energy and gas. And actually just yesterday, China lifted all import restriction on Russian wheat.
Yeah.
So this is happening as the West is looking at means of sanctioning Russia. So do you have any comments about the role that China is playing in this, and the strategy that seems to be playing out, and the future of Ukraine-China relationships as a consequence? Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to answer part of your question about China. Again, look, I would be very careful when we talk about China. First of all, China is the biggest trade partner of Ukraine. Last year, $17 billion trade. For us, it's a big amount of money. China is buying a lot of our agricultural products. China has infrastructural projects on our territory. And we try to maintain work and rational relations with China. We have China language, cultural centers of China. So we have very normal relations with this state. We respect it. At the same time, definitely we follow all the developments on Russia-China track. There are 26 grades, if I'm not mistaken, 26 of how China characterizes relations with other countries. There are 26 of them. Number one, very long definition with Russia. You know, there's comprehensive, etc., relations in new era, something like that. I don't remember the exact formula. It's worth noting their statement of February 4, joint statement on a very comprehensive statement. I don't know how many pages in Chinese, but in Russian it's 18 pages. Very unusual for summits. Normally it's like 2 pages, 5 points, but 18 pages. And you can find everything. Water on Fukushima, AUKUS, accusations to the democratic West imposing democracy on other countries, Taiwan, even NATO. I checked with people who know China well, much better than me, and they said probably that's the first time China said something about NATO. But there is no Ukraine. Isn't it amazing? From my point of view, this is something worth thinking about. I do think that China values relations with Ukraine. We do not see any hostile actions from China's side. What we see that China supports Russia in United Nations Security Council when they vote in the United Nations resolutions. But each time, if you go deeply inside those politics of United Nations, there are many details about who votes, why, whom, at certain and because of human rights, many issues around that. We expect that China would support a peaceful resolution of the conflict. We would very much welcome if China will exercise its connection with Russia and talk to Putin and explain to him this is a kind of inappropriate in 21st century to do this massacre in Europe. I do believe that China invested tens of billions of dollars in One Belt, One Road. As far as I know, the goal of One Belt, One Road, that's European market, $828 billion last year trade. And if Europe is destroyed, part of Europe definitely is going to be destroyed if that would not stop. And if it will be nuclear contamination of the huge territories, all those efforts to work in port infrastructure, Trieste, Piraeus, all this construction of those trade routes to Europe, they will be useless because Europe will be different. Refugees, radioactive, war, and whatever. So therefore, I do believe that China can play much more active role to work with Putin in a manner we expect for civilized countries to do. On energy, it's extremely interesting question because definitely that's what Russia does. It sells energy. It has nothing else. So they, as far as I know, Putin brought $10 billion, 10 billion cubic meters more to China. So they will be buying now 48. As far as I know, they are developing Sila Sibiri 2, another project from Yamal to China, North Korea, interesting, to Korea, to Republic of Korea, to bring another 50 million cubic meters. I wonder where they will get it. They don't have it. But probably that will be blackmailing to Europe, Germany about Nord Stream 2. But now Nord Stream 2 is not probably going to happen. And Russia will be doing Asian direction. It's, I can tell you, this is a separate issue worth careful consideration. But definitely what we, I mean, China bought now, that's another story, a huge amount of coal. That's interesting. Taking into account climate change, green energy, and all this stuff, to buy now, as I don't remember the figures, 100 million tons or something. I mean, amazing figure of coal. That's definitely helpful because if Russia is sanctioned and trade with Western countries are blocked by decisions of different governments, probably they will rely on other markets. But that's worth separate consideration. We must see what is going on in reality. We cannot avoid the situation when China is the biggest trade partner for 120 countries. For United States, for Japan too, and for Germany. So this is monster. This is super state, and we have to take care and talk to them in this capacity. And this capacity has many layers, so it is more complicated. And finally, sorry, but I have to say this: I'm very careful about statements from China because I do think we must read them in Chinese. Normally, we see it in a translation, but taking into account very specific language. Probably we must be very careful when they estimate what they say. We must be very careful of what was said and how it was interpreted. That is why I try not to pay that much attention to exact wording. I do expect that they have complex of interests, not just one interest or very simple interest. There are many considerations inside the Chinese policy, internal and external. Sorry, but
yes, Ambassador.
Important
just
question.
To update you all, I just saw on the South China Morning Post that China has abolished all restrictions of grain.
Grain,
import
yes,
export.
it just was,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Then I have the last two questions from the online. There are colleagues that are following this online. One comes from Ilgin Yorulmaz of BBC World Turkish Service. Ukraine has asked Turkey to revoke the 1936 Montreux Conference
Convents, yeah.
and close both Bosphorus and Dardanelles Strait to Russian ships. Can you clarify the reason for your government to do this? Well,
Yes, the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, so those Turkish straits, we call it simply. You know, I was ambassador to Turkey for 8 years, so that is like what I love,
your
my beloved convention. The Montreux Convention, there are, if I'm not mistaken, 15 countries, like Britain too. All this 1936 story. Convention managed the traffic in Bosphorus. Bosphorus is a very complicated place. It's very narrow, it's 7 turns, some of them like 90 degrees. To manage the traffic, specifically right now, every day, we have 4,000 ships coming through Bosphorus. A lot of oil is being exported through Bosphorus. To manage the system, they have installed special equipment developed by Northrop Grumman. And they, like now, work like in operational mode. One day, part of the day, one direction, then part of the day, another direction, because they don't want to have collusion in the Bosphorus. But what is the problem with Montreux Convention when it comes to military ships? Military. Turkey has no right to not to allow passage of military ship through Bosphorus. The country which would like to do that just inform Turkey about that there will be military ship. The only problem is that if you move a submarine, that Russia did actually now. They have submarines now in Black Sea. They should be on a floating position, so not on underfloor. They must go because Bosphorus is 60 meters depth, very, very shallow. The point is that Montreux Convention says that only restricted tonnage of military ships of non-littoral states could stay in the Black Sea and until 21 days. So that means, for example, if British destroyer would like to enter Bosphorus, it can do that if it's proper amount of this tonnage of the ship, but can stay only 21 days and must withdraw. That is why during all those 8 years we have rotational bases. We have US ship, then French ship, then British ship, then Germany ship, and they come and end, and so they visit Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, because I mean, it was NATO states, Turkey, and that is rotational basis. That is a kind of restriction on heavy presence of navy from other countries in Black Sea, NATO countries. If Montreux Convention is abandoned for some reason, NATO would be able to bring fleet to the Black Sea and counter Black Sea fleet of Russia. Right now, what Russia did, actually it plays Russian Sea, Black Sea. So they now block huge territory, you know, right before invasion, they block huge territory of Black Sea for military exercises. So that is the substance, the point. But I do remember very well, we talked to Turkey many years about LNG, possible LNG passage through the Bosphorus. And Turkey was they were always saying, this is very dangerous. It is true, it is dangerous. If there is an accident with LNG, that could be an explosion. You have to be very careful with those tankers. So, but when we were talking about this, I remember position of ambassador of Russia to Turkey. And he said, we never, ever, ever agree or any changes to the Montreux Convention, specifically because of this clause which limit the tonnage and time of non-littoral states of to be present in Black Sea. That is the problem. So of course we would love to have this convention changed and to allow our partners to exercise much more support from the sea, from Navy to us.
Thank you. Now the last question from Khaldun Kazari, who's a former president of this club. He works for Pan Orient News. There are some reports in the Middle East that say your president has also Israeli citizenship. What is your comment?
He's Ukrainian citizen. That's full stop.
No second citizenship.
No second citizenship.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ambassador, and hope to see you again at the end of this.
After victory.
Well, at the end of the
After our victory.
situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, by the
ladies and
way,
gentlemen. Thank you.
hold on, please. I just got an interesting news. Seems that today we will be all very, very busy, so I ask you to bring a tent, stay here, because after the Russian ambassador at 2, we will have also the American ambassador at 4. Emmanuel Ram just sent a message that he's willing to come. So we will welcome him, of course. Now the only one that is missing is the Chinese, but he's not in the country, unfortunately, I'm told. But we can always...
That's a good idea, by the way.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.